Hi, this is Chris with Sheepdog Church Security. I'm making this video for you, the congregation, to show you how you can participate in creating a safer environment for people to worship, study, and pray. Now, what we're going to cover in this video is basic information that you need to know about what to do in case of an active shooter or a fire or severe weather, and just how you can participate in general on reducing risks of crime at your church. So let's get started talking about what a safety ministry is. It's a relatively new idea for a lot of churches across the country, and really what's causing the change is that people are starting to realize that the crimes and the problems that happen at other organizations have been occurring at church all along, and we just haven't really taken a very close look at it. The other thing that we're realizing is that the amount of violent crime in churches is increasing quite a bit. Back in 1999, Carl Chin started to keep records of deadly force incidents in the church. So this is any action that could result in serious injury or death. And one of the things that this graph shows is from 99 to about the mid 2000s, what you see is this steady increase of violent encounters. Now that in and of itself is pretty concerning, considering that the rest of the country was staying flat or even decreasing in those types of things. But then what we see in 2008 or so, we start to see this spike in the amount of deadly encounters, and it continues to go up and up and up. And so churches all across the nation are starting to organize safety ministries. Now, when people think of the safety ministries, usually they think of just the few people that have signed on to patrol the campus and to kind of look for suspicious activity and call 911 or respond to any emergencies that might occur. But really, a safety ministry is the entire church working together. It's individuals paying attention to what's going on, knowing what their part is in an active shooter, what their part is in case there's a fire. So the first thing I want to cover is I want to cover the whole Homeland Security, see something, say something. Now, this is a message that law enforcement has been giving to the public for decades and decades. It wasn't until Homeland Security made it into a nice little easy to remember slogan. But the idea behind this is that we're paying attention to what's going on around us. During your normal day, you're driving to work, getting the kids ready for school, you're going to the store, you're out and about inside the church, if you're a volunteer, maybe you're greeting people at the door, you're working with the children's ministry, wherever, an usher, wherever you are, you're there to help people, but you're also there to observe. And so you might see some things that are a little bit on the suspicious side, and we just want to encourage you that if that happens, that you need to contact somebody. Now, if you have a safety team, certainly contact the safety team. If you don't have a safety team, by all means, call 911. Let the police come and let them know what you saw, who you saw, what they were doing, when it was occurring, and all the information that you possibly can in order to let the cops find out if there was really something more to that incident, or was it something completely innocent. So let's talk about what constitutes suspicious activity. So that could be a vehicle parked in an unusual place or during an unusual time. It could be a bag or a box being left unattended in and around the church. It could be a door or a window that's been left open. Other things that could be kind of suspicious is people asking too many questions about the facilities and about security. Maybe they're asking, does it have an alarm system? Do you guys have a security team? Are they armed? When do they open the doors? When do they close the doors? Those types of questions that show that they're showing a little bit too much interest in what we've done as a church to prepare for an emergency situation. Some other suspicious activities include any sort of unusual observation or surveillance within the church or around the church. So that they might be using binoculars. Obviously, that would set off some red flags. Maybe they're pacing off or making sketches of the church. Maybe they're just loitering around. Everybody is in the sanctuary, but they're out in the lobby, wandering the halls and things to that effect. They may be looking for something to get into, or they're planning to cause a problem later down the line. We also want to be aware of extreme behaviors. And what I'm talking about here is things like, maybe they're showing signs of aggravation or anger, or, crying, or they look confused or extremely nervous. These are all indications that something is obviously going on within them, and we want to know what that is. The other thing we want to look for is maybe unusual clothing. Maybe they're printing and you can see that they have something hidden in their jacket or underneath their shirt or something to that effect. Now, with all of these things that we covered, each one of them by themselves may not be anything. The goal here is to kind of take a full view of absolutely everything that's going on, and then making a determination on all of these factors if it's something that we need to check out. And if it's something we need to check out, once again, it's contacting your safety team or contacting law enforcement to allow them to decide if any action needs to be taken. The next thing I'd like to talk to you about is a fire within the church. So during a fire, what you need to remember is the acronym RACE. So RACE stands for R, rescue, A, alert, C, confine, E, extinguish, and evacuate. So the rescue, the first part, is if there's a fire, anyone in the immediate area needs to be taken out of that area so they're not injured by fire or by smoke. The next thing is alert. So this is pulling the fire alarm and calling 911. We always want you to do both those things because there's a lot of false alarms. And so that actual voice contact with the 911 dispatcher lets them know that this is not an accident, this is an actual fire. The other part is confine, and what that is all about is about choking off that fire the best we can by closing doors and closing windows. Now, it won't necessarily mean that the fire will go out. What it does do, though, is it slows down the spread of fire as much as we possibly can. The last one is evacuate and extinguish. Now, many firefighters will tell you that they want you to use a fire extinguisher when it's necessary to evacuate. So if you're stuck and the only way is through where the fire is, by all means, use that fire extinguisher to put out the fire, or at least create a safe space to escape. I would take it one step further. I think a lot of us can judge when a fire is super small and it's something that we can handle and extinguish. So I would encourage you to do that by all means. So moving on, I want to talk to you about severe weather. Now, all of us have different risks depending on where we are in the country, but one thing that we all share in common is severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. Now, in the case of a severe thunderstorm warning, what we want to do is take immediate action to safeguard ourselves and safeguard our church. And the way we do that is we move into a sturdy building or shelter to be protected by the strong winds, hails, lightning, all those things that it can occur. And so what we want to do is we want to move inside that church, and then we want to make a point of moving away from any sort of windows, glass windows or glass doors. And then what we want to do is we want to stay away from electrical equipment, and we want to stay away from any sort of plumbing. Now, if that severe thunderstorm grows and brings tornadoes with it, now what we're definitely going to want to do is we're going to want to move to the lowest level possible. So if you have a basement, by all means, you're moving people into the basement. If you don't have a basement, what you want to do is move people to the first floor and into the center of the building as much as you can. And the idea there is to have as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So now let us talk about something that's really been heavy on a lot of our minds throughout the country, and that is active shooters. We certainly have seen an increase of these across the country, and we're seeing them even in church, and we could name several churches that have experienced this already. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're prepared for this. One of the things we need to keep in mind is if you're in a leadership position at all in the church, you're a volunteer, ministry leader, you're on the staff, you're part of the safety team, people are going to look to you for some sort of guidance. So what you need to remember in the case of an active shooter is the run, hide, fight. Now, the run basically means this, is if there's an opportunity at all for you and for others to escape an active shooter by running out the door, over the hill, then by all means, get out of the area as quickly as you can. When you're doing this, certainly try to get people to come with you if they're willing, but realize that some people will not come with you. And you can't stay there trying to coax people out of the building. You need to run. The next thing that you need to remember is don't bring any of your bags with you. You don't need to bring your belongings. It's not a time to chase down your jacket or your purse or anything to that effect. Drop what you have and take off running as fast as you possibly can. As you're exiting the building, what you want to be sure you do is this, is make sure that you don't have anything in your hands at all. Because if police are arriving and they see you running from the building, you could be mistaken as the bad guy. So by all means, keep your hands up, keep your hands open, and keep them empty. Once you get out of the area from the church and you find a safe place to be, what you need to do then is to call 911. When you call 911, what you want to do is you want to give them as many details as possible. So how many shooters are there? What are they wearing? What's their basic description? How many people are at that facility? So if you have a church of 200 people, let them know there's 200 people in that building. And let them know what kind of firearms you might have seen or what you thought you heard or any other details. Were they wearing a explosive vest? Did they have a backpack on? Those types of things that are going to help law enforcement. So the first thing is run. Get out of the area as quickly as possible and to a safe place, and then call 911. The next part is hide. So if you can't run, what you need to do is you need to hide someplace. Now this could be in a classroom, an office, this could be a closet, any place at all that you can hide from that active shooter. Now when you're hiding from that active shooter, you want to take some steps to make yourself more secure. So some of the things is, if you're in a room, shut and lock the door, turn off the lights, cover up any windows, silence and turn off cell phones, don't talk. Don't make any noise at all, and just wait until police show up to release you from your room or let you know that you can leave your room. Other than that, put things between you and that door. So maybe it's a heavy desk or a file cabinet or anything at all that you can hide behind to conceal yourself from the active shooter. The next thing, if that doesn't work, the next thing is fight. The American spirit has always been a fighting spirit. And even though we've gotten away from that just a little bit, it is okay to fight for your life and fight for the lives of other people. So if you cannot run, you can't hide, fight. And that means anything and everything that you can do. Throw things at them, yell at them, attack them. Just fully commit to whatever you need to do to disorient them or distract them from what they're doing. And realize it's your life, and you have to do everything you possibly can to survive. When law enforcement arrives to an active shooter event, their primary purpose is to neutralize that threat as soon as possible. So some things you should expect is this, is they may be wearing patrol uniforms, they may have bullet-resistant vests, they might be wearing tactical vests, they might have Kevlar helmets on. They're there to get to work. They're going to have rifles. They're going to have handguns. They're going to have shotguns. They're going to be moving as quickly as possible towards the sound of the gunfire to eliminate it. Now, what you need to remember is this, is one, do not rush the officers. Don't run towards them. Don't grab onto them. You'll likely get knocked to the ground if that occurs. Follow their instructions. They're going to be telling you to keep running, to keep going the direction that you're going. Don't run away from them, run towards them, because the way they came in, that's the safe spot. So run out of the building as fast as you can. Once again, like I said before, make sure you don't have anything in your hands and make sure that your hands are up. And the best you can, remain calm, because we don't need you yelling and screaming and creating more chaos than is already going on. So by all means, follow their instructions, remain calm, and exit the building wherever they send you. Now, once you get outside the building, what they're going to do is they're going to put you in some sort of assembly area. And in that assembly area, they're probably going to keep you there for some time, because what they're going to need to do is they're going to want to interview people, and they want to be able to make sure that they have kind of a reunification point. So if you've been separated from family and friends, it's going to be there where they're going to start linking you up together and make sure, somebody on the south side of the building is linked up with their family on the north side. So just be prepared to be there for a while and do your best to cooperate with law enforcement. Last but certainly not least is communication. As you can probably already see from all the things we talked about, active shooters and fires and severe weather and suspicious behaviors and even criminal activity on church property, communication is absolutely key. And so the first and easiest form of communication that probably all of us already have is our cell phones. Being used, making sure that they're charged up, ready to go any day that you go to church, and just being prepared to call 911 in case of an emergency. The next thing is two-way radios. I highly recommend that all churches invest in some sort of two-way radios. There's some pretty good ones out there. There's some inexpensive ones out there. My church actually goes with a slightly less expensive radio, but we have radios basically for as many people as we possibly could. So the children's ministry has radios. The hospitality, that's the greeters, the ushers, all those people have radios. And of course the team and then key staff and other key personnel have radios. And so it's just essential that you can imagine, even during like a fire drill, and you're trying to get everybody evacuated out of the building, and you have stragglers, or you have maybe people with mobility issues, or those types of things, you're going to want to get it on the radio and call for help. It could also be during an active shooter, certainly setting up some sort of lockdown drill and getting people evacuated takes good communication. So make sure you invest in some good radios. The other thing you might consider is there's a great app out there. It's called Warnable. And what Warnable does is it not only allows the safety team and staff and other leaders to communicate, but it also has a mass messaging app to it. And so basically you can put all kinds of people in different lists and different teams on there. And if you need to communicate to that team, you simply hit a couple buttons and they're alerted. So really look into communication, because it is so important for dealing with an emergency situation. Clearly, with the brevity of this video, there is so much more to learn. This is especially true if you're on the safety team, you're on staff, or you're a high-capacity volunteer, ministry leader, whatever. And that is why we created actually 7 courses bundled together into what we call the Certified Safety Member course. And in that, it covers everything that we just covered here, much more expanded, much more in-depth knowledge. And it's a video-based online course that you can take. You go through all of them. There are tests after each one of the individual courses, but in the end, you're certified through Sheepdog Church Security for 2 years. The other thing that we have to offer is maybe you're a leader and you're getting this all together. One of the things you're going to want to look at is our ministry proposal and starter kit. And in that, there's a lot more details about statistics and things that are going on in churches across the nation. We also talk about how you might organize your safety team to include a committee, a safety director, and the team. We talk about things like vetting and policies and procedures that need to be written. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. Now that's in training bundle form, so that's a PowerPoint presentation with a slide-by-slide instructions. But either way, these are 2 things that you could consider to be more prepared for all these things, because these things aren't going away. So thank you so much for watching this video, and hey, let's be careful out there.